This is the video review of the Transformers Combiner Wars G1 Leader Class Megatron figure right here. I have the Armada Leader Class figure right back here in his green tank mode, just so you can see the difference. After I review this guy, just keep this video short. I'm going to make a second video where I go over this guy just real quick, and that's when I'll show off the differences between the robot modes. But here, you can see the differences between their tank modes. The G1 Megatron is just very, very nice, very shiny and reflective silver tank, and most of all of this silver is paint. It's really, really impressive. Whereas the Armada Megatron is more of this muted green. It's still a nice green, but it's not quite as eye-catching as that, with a lot of tiny paint applications like on these ablative armor panels here and stuff. So anyway, just the color differences are really all the difference. Are all the major differences in the vehicle mode. Like they do have different heads, but otherwise they are still the same mode. So I'll put him off to the side for now, and we'll look at Leader Megatron right here. And this guy just looks awesome. He's a big, chunky tank. Like, none of this feels like it's going to like bend or warp in my hand. It's all very solid and chunky. Like, it doesn't feel like a brick, but it doesn't feel like paper either. It's a very solid, nice figure. The turret can rotate, and it's very impressive that it can do this, and I'll show you why when we get to the transformation. It can't go up and down, but I'm not too angry about that. Also, this can go in and out if you don't want it to be super long, because I do think that at its full length it is a bit too long. I like it at just about here. There's like a second indentation where that kind of stops, and that's where I prefer it. So anyway, that's what the tank mode mostly looks like. He does have these little weapons up here that you can just plug in several places. And we'll show off what these do in robot mode for now, but we'll put them off to the side. And just about the last thing to show about this mode is he does have the rubber tank treads like this. And honestly, I'm glad that Hasbro finally did something like this, where they have the rubber tank treads actually work, but instead of trying to join them in some crazy way, they just made it so there was a break right here that you won't notice unless you're looking for it. I'm glad Hasbro finally did it, but I wish Hasbro hadn't done it on this figure. And I'll show you why when we get to the robot mode, because these things do cause some problems I think could have been fixed if they went for a more traditional approach, where this is all just a solid block of plastic with maybe some transformation parts in it with some tiny casters on it. I think that might have made the robot mode on this guy a little bit better. But anyway, to go on to transformation, is very cool. I really like this guy's transformation. Excuse me. To start, we're going to pop off the sides bit here, and this is different than the instructions will tell you to transform it, and there's a reason why I do it this way, why I pull these out first. So you'll pull them down, and then you'll tab them together. And when you have these out of the way, it's a lot easier to get your fingers in to deal with this stuff here. So you want to pop it out and pull it out like that. And that's just not as easy to do when you have these things in the way. So after you do that, you'll come to the back where you have this little black plate, and you'll pull it off like this. And then you'll bring the legs down just so that they won't bump into this, and you'll straighten them out, and they'll click into place. And it's actually a very nice, solid connection. Like, it's not going to come undone unless you specifically push on the joint. It's very solid. I was expecting something not quite as sturdy as that. But anyway, down, click, bring out the feet, and then we'll leave it be for now. Push this in, and then we'll spread apart the arms. And this is where the genius of the rotating turret comes into play. Because what you see here is this round bit right here that normally rotates when the turret rotates, but when the arms come out, they go into these little slots that keep it into place. But when they're all the way up, then they can rotate freely, although that time it was mostly just the arms turning. But anyway, it's just a very neat transformation bit in there, and I really like it. Next, we'll bring this down, and it'll tab into place. It's on that little double hinge. Then I'll bring this up, and it'll tab into place. Then I'll rotate this to the side and down, and I bring it all the way down like this, whereas normally you're supposed to keep it out like this. And I've done a little modification here that I'll talk about in a minute. But what you're supposed to do is to pull this out on this side. I'm not doing it on this side. And the reason why is because, let me just get him situated. I just turned his head around if that was off camera. Let me get him all posed up. And by the way, if I sound weird, or if I end up getting real sniffly, it's because I have really bad allergies this time of year. But anyway, This is Leader Class Megatron, and he looks amazing. I really, really love this guy. And actually, let me see if I can get a lower camera angle on this guy, because just to give him some majesty. Yeah, there we go. Excuse me. Yeah, he's just such a cool looking figure. Now this modification I've done right here. Normally, when this little panel right here is down, it covers the fist. I cut away part of the section here to show his fist so that this doesn't need to come out. And the reason why is because when this kind of piece, when this piece on the other side is out, it doesn't leave enough room for this thing to rotate all the way down to the side, which means that this thing, the gun, is always bumping into the shoulder if you're trying to bend the elbow, and it just really gets in the way. So it was really easy to do. I just took a pair of what would you call them? They're either some wire cutters, some not like wire that you would put into a computer, but wire like you would make a bracelet out of. Some of those, and I just cut across, or sprue cutters. I just cut across just like a millimeter away from where it actually terminates, just to get the big broad strokes of the cut in, and then I came in with an X-Acto and I shaved away the stressed plastic and I smoothed it out. It was very easy and fast to do, and I think it really improves the figure because the gun now sits to the side and out of the way, and he still has his hand, and I think it's really nice like that. Now anyway, moving on, this guy has pretty good articulation. His head rotates around 360, and it can look up and down, so it's a very nice head. It's also a very, very nice head sculpt. I love that head sculpt. It is perfect for G1 Megatron, and even has some light piping. It's not great light piping, but it does work. If you can get the light just right down in there, it's great, but normally it's not going to be quite that good. Now for the arms, they rotate around 360, but when you rotate them down, because the shoulder joint is actually so low, it can start looking a little bit weird, but you do get 360 at the arms. They do go in and out, and because they hinge higher up to make sure that they don't bump into the arm, it's not quite as limited as you might think with these long shoulder pylons, but can look really weird in some poses. So it works. The arms move the way they should, especially for how crowded the chest area potentially could be, but sometimes it looks a little bit weird. Anyway, moving on. You can bend the elbows around these ridiculously tight ratchets for how strong everything else is. So if you try and bend this, it's going to just move everywhere else. So I wish I could loosen this up, but I can't get to some of the screws inside of there. And then it can also rotate above the elbow and below the elbow, or the hand can rotate. You also get some pectoral articulation here from the transformation. My problem with this articulation here is, while I like it, I think it's good. I think more Transformers should have this because it's necessary for certain poses that are very, it shows posture and it gives the arms a bit more freedom. I think it's some good articulation to have. The joints aren't very tight on mine, and they aren't very tight on my Armada Megatron either. And part of the reason is because on this arm he has this giant gun, so it has to deal with a lot of weight anyway. But I really, really wish that were a bit tighter, and if it were, then I would like that joint a lot more. It's possible to tighten it, and I did tighten it a little bit on my Armada Megatron, but there's only so much you can tighten it. Anyway, moving on to the legs. Excuse me. Legs go forwards up until they meet this section up here, this skirt plate. And it is a bit sad how much it's limited there. And go quite a ways back and go in and out. These little skirt things don't really get in the way. Rotate above the knee. Although they do start to, there's some kind of block in there that keeps it from rotating all the way to the side. I can't tell if it's like an internal block or if something from here is bumping into there. Anyway, the knee bends this far, and this is part of where I'm starting to talk about the, I'm glad that Hasbro made this kind of a wheel connection down here, but I wish that Hasbro had just gone for solid plastic with black casters, because then this section here could have folded out of the way somehow, and then we could have gotten a much deeper knee bend. And the other problem that I think this causes is it makes the construction of his foot down here kind of complex. So what happens is the ratchet in there, if you can see it, the ratchet is very strong, but the mounting of the ratchet is loose. So the foot ends up wiggling a bit, and it's worse on my Armada Megatron. He can can't stand in very many poses because of it, whereas this guy can stand in a lot, but not quite as much as he should. Like, this isn't good posability here because of this wiggle here. So mostly so you can get a foot tilt, but most of the time you're just going to want to keep it straight, and instead of bending the foot, you're just going to want to rotate to the upper thigh to kind of get his foot flat on the ground. So his legs are better than I thought they would be, because like I thought this joint was going to be very hard to keep sturdy. Like I thought it was going to be a very fragile joint, but it's really not. It's actually quite a strong joint for normal play. You have to specifically be trying to bend it. So I do think it works quite well, his legs for the most part, but his feet are a bit disappointing. But having said that, you can still get him into quite a few really awesome poses. He does, for the most part, stand. He's just not quite as dynamic as I would like, and his arm cannon just looks awesome. So there we go. And he does have a little red button here so you can fire the missile. It actually fires quite well, although that time I was putting it down so it got a gravity assist, but it does still fire quite well. And the last thing to really talk about on this guy is he has these weapons here. Now this one is like a missile launcher or a machine gun or something. I'm not sure. It's a very stubby little pistol thing. And this is more like a tiny rifle, or I guess a pistol for a robot. And they combine at the back like this. Now what I normally do is I just store them on the leg like this, which I think looks quite nice. But you can also hold it in his hand. Anyway, this has been the video review of Transformers Combiner Wars G1 Leader Class Megatron. It's a really nice figure. It's a really beautiful figure. Like, just all the paint on this guy looks amazing. And I really highly recommend him. Actually, before I wrap this up, I do want to mention he does come with a small sticker sheet. Like, he has these little wiry things that the G1 Megatron had, like from the like etchings that the gun would have. I thought about putting these on, but as far as I can tell, the stickers aren't translucent. They are, they're just white paper. So if I put them on, they're not going to blend in with his chest. They're going to be blocks of white with the detail on it. So I'm not super impressed with the stickers, but otherwise they're fine. And in the same little baggie like this, here's Armada Megatron's one that you get this little card back of Megatron I think looks quite nice. Anyway, yeah, this has been a video review of a Leader Class Megatron, the G1 version. I really like it. I highly recommend it, and it's a great figure. So when I review Transformers, Power Rangers, Digimon, also be reviewing some of the Space Leader stuff. Actually, I'll get to that after I get to the Megatron stuff. So if any of that sounds interesting, please subscribe, and thank you for watching. Have a nice day.